So we've been rolling the whole time, so it's a good start to the podcast. So, Si.
Welcome, Sam Raywood.
Straight into the
podcast number 5.
For
Centre Stage at number 1 The Crescent on Friday the 2nd of September.
Yeah, we're delighted we're delighted to have you coming down. It's going to be a good night again, hopefully. The last one was great. I had a really good time.
Yeah, I missed the last one because I caught COVID. I went to Kendall Carlin. I got a last minute ticket the week before. Ticket going, yep, I'll have it. And then I came back, bang, COVID. Give it to my wife who luckily she went to Spain, but she didn't test positive until she was actually in Spain.
Oh, no.
And she was in a dad's villa, so it's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So they were absolutely fine. Obviously, I passed it on to her, she passed it on to her dad. And obviously I missed that weekend because that Friday, obviously there was a centre stage. So I'm sat at home sulking, you know. And then we had a gig over in Hull with, we've got some mates I call. You ever heard of Ramble Gamble?
I've heard.
Yeah, they're brilliant. Such a fun, sort of like, really good up-tempo sort of band. And I had to miss that as well. And I'm still sort of like, I'm all right. I'm just like it's taking a while to build. Not really, because I didn't really do anything singing wise, but it's just energy levels. Yeah. I mean, it went away as quick as it came on, and then after, but because it took so much out of me at the time, obviously with my diabetes and stuff, it fucked with my sugar levels and everything. Obviously, it's taken like a couple of weeks just to sort of like get my energy levels back to normal. So it's not nice.
No,
not nice.
Well, I've managed to avoid it so far. Touch wood. Unless I've had it and not.
Well, I see you might have had it.
Or you might have the natural antibodies. But that was the first time I'd had it. I thought I was pretty lucky, you know. And then it's just like, yep, there you go.
God, have
that, you fucker.
I mean, me and my wife got a bad cough after the fact, and neither of us were particularly ill when we got it. I was just knackered. Yeah. I just brain fog. I can sit in the studio up in stairs and just sit in front of the computer for like an hour, just going, "What am I doing again? How do I mix things?"
Yeah, the concentration levels were literally zero, weren't they?
Really brain. I was just like, Jesus Christ. But other than that, it was, you know. Anyway, so we've got like some questions that we're going to ask, but they're loose and we'll see where it goes. But we'll start at the start, and we want to know.
Shit, I didn't really send you them. Sorry. With the previous podcast, I'd sent them all the questions. This is what we're going to ask you, and the rest of it is just chatting shit in between. So.
well, I've watched a few anyway, so
you know the kind of thing.
Ah, right, yeah, cool.
So we'll start with the start then. And how old were you when you first started doing music?
Oh wow.
Or into music at all?
Into music. I think first memories of music were my parents were really into music. But they were quite poor as well. And so I think my mum was 19 when she had me. My dad was 20, so we lived in a small terraced house in Goole. And first memories, they had 3 albums in the house. They had Abbey Road by the Beatles.
Nice. Good start.
They had Motown Chartbusters Volume 3.
Volume 3.
I heard it through the grapevine.
Oh, brilliant! Yes.
Tracks of My Tears.
Oh, nice.
Is
this like on vinyl?
All vinyl.
Nice.
So classic albums, and then they had a weird like left field one, Jose Feliciano. Have you heard of him?
Ooh. I've heard the name, but I don't know.
He's like a Puerto Rican acoustic guitarist, and he's blind.
Okay.
And in the 60s, he made his career on doing covers of like hits of the time. So he did Light My Fire by the Doors. So he did a version of that, which was on this album.
That's what I think I know him from. Yeah.
And he did a Stones number as well. I don't know if it was Satisfaction, I think it was. But he had this, sort of Spanish accent singing these songs. But earliest memories of those sort of 3 albums. And I'd only been like 4 or 5 at the time. But I always remember saying to my mum and dad, play, can we have some music on, And they were just on repeat all the time. They're my earliest memories.
Nice,
so,
that's great.
It's funny how many people have said like their parents got them into it, but the replaying of songs over and over again, because everyone seems to like do that, like have this, get some song over and over and over.
Yeah.
Which you were limited by your 3, but I said in a previous podcast, like my mum had like a Don McLean LP.
Yes.
I must have listened to American Pie. It was a great hit. I mean, I must have listened to it like about 1 billion times in a row. Just up, back, up,
great song. And I just remember, and I can even sort of remember the sort of feeling that the music gave me, even at that young age. It's like I just felt
you
so
kind of like
good,
what's that? And then obviously there's so much going on
the
as well.
pleasure I got from music, from a really young age. So that was my sort of introduction to music. And then I got into like I think the first single that I bought with my pocket money was "You're the One That I Want." John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John from Greece.
Nice. What was that?
78, was it? 78?
Late,
I think.
late.
Yeah, it was about 78. So the Greece thing, and I remember going to Woolworths with my pocket money and buying that.
Woolworths,
That
nice.
was my first, and so it was, and then it became a bit of a ritual. Whenever I got enough money for a single, I'd go uptown with my mum, and I think the second
Vinyl again, like
all
7-inch
vinyl 7-inch
nice.
singles.
Have you still got these? Yeah.
Yeah, I've still got them all.
Nice.
Nice.
The second one I bought was "So Lonely" by the Police.
Oh yeah. So lonely.
So lonely.
So lonely.
I love the
I was looking for "Walking on the Moon" because I loved that
That's
song.
great. I love it.
But they'd sold out of that, and "So Lonely" must have been the new single, so I got that.
You don't realise how early the Police were, like late. Were they late 70s, weren't they?
Late 70s, yeah.
Because I had a best of the Police album when I must have been shopping in HMV and it was on sale or whatever for a couple of quid.
Yeah.
That was one of the best he's ever bought because it was like a greatest hit. So I was just like, they're so goddamn good.
Yeah, they
It's
were
a great band.
And then I got Adam and the Ants. I got into them. So Ant Music and Kings of the Wild Frontier. But the first album I bought, again vinyl album, was All Mod Cons by the Jam. And they were the first band that I really sort of obsessed about. Was the Jam, and the first band I ever saw actually. It was I was 13. I saw them at Bridge Spa.
Oh wow!
But it was their farewell tour, and so that was my first ever gig. Mum and Dad dropped me and my mate off. He'd actually broke his collarbone the week before the gig, and he was devastated because he thought his mum and dad wouldn't let him go. He managed to persuade him to let him go, so his arm was in a sling. I insisted on going down the front, so we were literally at the front, looking up at.
At a Jam concert with a broken collarbone.
And you can imagine what it was like, and he was like, it's good, isn't it? Against the barrier. But he was in agony,
What year was that?
That was 82.
82.
Jeez.
I was
6th of December 1982.
I wasn't born yet.
I remember the exact date.
Showing my age now.
It's Mum's birthday as well.
And they split up about 3 days later. That was it.
No way.
Yeah.
Just
caught them. So that was my first
they
ever gig.
Or they
what a great gig to go. That's your first gig.
They were great. And I was one of these. I sort of got into a band and I obsessed about them. Plastered my bedroom with the posters and bought all their albums. And at that point, I actually made a cardboard Rickenbacker. Made it, and
Oh, what? Sorry.
A Rickenbacker guitar that Paul Weller played back when he was in the Jam. I've got a real one now, but back then I made a cardboard one. Sellotape and cardboard. It even had strings on it. So I sellotaped some strings onto it, and that was me in front of the mirror in my bedroom, pretending I was Paul Weller for months,
Yeah.
And then I think I was 15 when I got my first guitar for Christmas.
15, no, nice. Did you have the temperament and the patience at that age?
I did actually. I never had guitar lessons or anything like that. It was literally just, the old chord book.
So was that again? Because obviously there was no internet.
There's no internet. It was literally just,
chord books. Those chord books are great though. I used to have loads of it because I learned off those chord books.
Yeah.
You'd find them in all your kind of independent record shops as well.
You did, and you used to go to these independent record shops and they'd have the All Mod Cons. Music book, and it had the chords in as well. So I used to buy those. And try.
Did it show you where to put your fingers?
Yeah, there were the tabs. Tabs. I couldn't read music. I still can't read music.
Can I, mate?
No,
I just used to work off the tabs and listening to the songs, and that was how I sort of got into music. So I joined my first band at 15, which was actually a goth band called Domain.
Shout out to Domain if it's still around somewhere.
Yeah, and one of the lads in the band, Bry, he's in the Numbers. Have you heard of the Numbers, the covers band from Goole?
No.
Very popular on the pub circuit round Goole, and Bry, shout out to Bry. And he was the bass player in the band, and did our first gig at Goole Leisure Centre on the 15th of September 1984.
Still wasn't born.
No.
Sorry. I'm just going to dig all day long.
It's going to be doing that all night.
Yeah. So influences if you were watching a jam, but then you went to a goth band, how did you make the leap from? Was it just because it was a band you could join, or were you influenced by like the kind of?
I think in between that sort of 82 and then around 83, 84, bands like Sisters of Mercy, Bauhaus, those types of bands started.
Did you refrain from the pop side of things? The synth pop of the 80s.
Yeah, I did actually. Although, you know, I sort of got into it a bit later. You know, I love bands like Talk Talk, for example. You know, and even now, you know, Colour of Spring by Talk Talk's one of my favourite albums. I love that album.
There's a lot of albums that kind of stand the test of time that sound just as good
fantastic.
these days and wipe the floor with pretty much.
Honestly, you know,
and it was recorded in like 60s, 70s, 80s.
Like goth from my era is like Cradle of Filth, Slipknot, I guess, to some extent. But like, I guess then it was like Depeche Mode kind of. Whenever you see anything referring to the 80s and goth, you always see like
the Cure,
Cure, Depeche Mode, that type of music. So was that the kind of like goth sound back in the 80s, or because I didn't really.
Yeah, it was. It was Cure. It was Sisters of Mercy. It was Bauhaus. Those types.
So I guess the goth scene in my era.
Sort of like maybe in my experience, the sort of like the mid 80s, kind of like the pop sort of scene kind of overtook, and then it wasn't until like the late 80s where you'd get obviously, you know, the Cure, Pixies, you know, them kind of bands. They become more into the mainstream then, and then the sort of like the kind of pop culture sort of almost faded out a little bit.
Yeah. But was that like what we're saying is that like the is that the goth scene in the 80s was it like the Depeche Mode, Cure type rather than because obviously like I said when I was growing up it was like heavy metal was the goth scene.
It wasn't really.
Yeah, I don't think that was
alternative new wave type.
New wave stuff.
You know,
yeah.
And, but it was a great scene, and those bands would get on top of the pops. You know, it was like they were in the charts. You know, those sort of bands. There was the real poppy stuff, and then you'd have someone like Bauhaus on next, and it was real, and it was great because you got to see those types of bands before the internet. You got exposed to them because they were on the mainstream.
That was it. Top of the Pops was the only thing really until what was it? Was it the chart show?
It was the old grey whistle test, and then
the old grey whistle test. Yeah, the Word. Did you ever know the Word? The Tube. Yeah,
the Tube was great.
Was it the old grey whistle test? This is way before your time, dude.
Yeah, old grey whistle test.
But I remember. Do you remember the Word?
The Word.
The Word used to be quite good. And that was kind of like late 80s, I think.
Yeah, it was. But they had some good bands.
They had some great bands on, like Pop Elite itself. They had all the kind of like the.
Saw them a few
times.
Indie
Jesus
Jones,
Jesus Jones, Jesus and Mary Chain, Wedding Present. Them sort of like.
That's it.
So like the indie scene of sort of like the late 80s, that was.
So it's not like because like in my mind when you were saying you were going from like watching him a jam and then a year and a half later in a goth band, I was thinking he's playing heavy metal, but obviously that's just in my mind what goth were. But I guess it was more.
It was. I was sort of into that sort of modish scene.
Yeah.
The Jam Madness specials. Those kinds of
bands. I love specials.
And then it sort of morphed into more of a goth thing, and then I went to. York Festival. They had a festival at York Races course in '84. Echo and The Bunnymen were headlining.
Nice. Great band.
Spirit Destiny played. A band called Redskins from York, who were real sort of.
Redskins. That name rings a bell.
They were real political sort of, support the miners and really, real socialist sort of band. But they were real good. But there was a band on there called the Chameleons from Manchester who I got real into. I saw them there.
I think I've heard that.
And they're still one of my favourite bands today. The Chameleons from Manchester. Sort of.
I think I've heard of them.
Yeah, real sort of big echoey guitars.
It sounds like it sounds like you've been quite influenced your whole life, really.
Oh yeah. They're real obsessive, and I would sort of get real obsessive about genres, if you like.
Oh, genres, okay.
And now I've sort of widened my scope. I'd be very narrow-minded. I'd be like, well, no, I'm into goth, and all the rest of it's rubbish. And and I sort of go through phases like that. Whereas now, if you saw my music collection now.
I mean, there's just so much out there as well, so much to choose from. There's probably so much we haven't even discovered yet. Or there's so much that there's out there. There's probably another favourite band ever.
Absolutely.
And we're probably never ever going to hear it.
I know. I get quite frustrated about that because I know, when I'm on Spotify or whatever, and I think there'll be, a few clicks away could be my favourite ever band of all time, And I love stumbling across bands. I quite like it where, if you like this band, you might like these these
that's
others. I think that's a real
good,
good feature, because I've discovered a few bands like, I recently discovered Nothing But Thieves, just by accident, and I was on holiday recently and I just hammered them all the time, I was like, these are great.
I could tell you're quite heavily tanned there, mate.
Yeah, I've got that sort of skin anyway, but my dad's the same.
I think I'm bad for that. Like I like, the bands that I like, and I know I'm gonna like the album. I'm like, well, I know I'm gonna like that, so I'll listen to that.
Yeah.
Because I don't really listen to enough music, so I'm like, if I'm gonna listen to music, I'm like, it's gonna be a band I like. I wasn't listening to the same 10 albums, like anything by Radiohead, anything by Gomez, and that's pretty much me done. Like some NWA, some Dre. If I'm feeling a bit of hip hop, but I really should do more like skipping between bands, because I'm terrible for like.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? I'm very similar to you, whereas I like to put some music on to suit my mood.
Yeah.
Like, I can flick and flick and flick. It's just like, no, not feeling it. No, until something starts. It's just like, I think that would suit that song.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm in an NWA mood. Depends what time strutting through the street. Like listening to NWA, just like swearing. All the old people in Selby look at me going, I'm on the bus. Just swearing.
A bit like Eddie Murphy in that film 48 Hours, where he's on the bus with the headphones on going,
that's it, yeah.
But instead doing it NWA style.
I was
fuck the police.
Straight out Compton.
I was on the bus stop the other day, and I was listening to I think it was Radiohead. I can't remember which album. I think it was the Bends. And my neighbour next door, who just despises me. It was just me and her on the bus stop. I had my headphones in. I'm just there singing as loud as I can. She just keeps looking like that. I'm just like, sing louder.
Yeah.
Wind her up.
I think that's still my favourite Radiohead album, actually.
The Bends.
It's so tough.
I
think we're all agreed on that. But it's tough for me, because I love that. I love Like a Computer.
Yeah.
And I also absolutely adore
Kid A.
Not Kid A, no. I do love Pablo Honey. No, the one after that.
Hail to the Thief.
Is one of my favourites. I love all the songs on there, but I also love Pablo Honey because it was the first Radiohead album I'd ever heard.
Yeah.
So that's what got me into Radiohead.
Yeah.
So I love that album, not because it's the best, but just because.
Yeah,
that's
sentimental.
I never listened to the Bends if I hadn't listened to Pablo Honey. Like at that time, eventually I would have come across it. But
I think I think we've mentioned this in one of the podcasts before, that they're one of those bands that, where you have the difficult second album and then the even more difficult third album. Well, they just fucking smashed it. As far I think, anyway. That the Bends. What was it? 94. 94, 95?
95, I think.
I think it was as late as that.
Because like the 90s was my kind of era, and it just takes me back. When you listen to a song, and it just takes you back to a moment in your life.
It's the beauty of
And
music.
and you remember exactly what you were doing, who you were with,
how you were feeling, and mood, everything.
The feeling. It's amazing how it can bring you back to that feeling.
Yeah, it's
like
great.
Sounds.
It's great for that. I saw Radiohead again at Bridge Spar on the OK
95.
Computer tour. Yeah.
Oh, they played Bridge Spar on the OK Computer tour. Wow.
OK Computer.
Because it's not a massive venue. It's Bridlington Spa, is it?
Yeah, that was awesome.
I saw them at V Festival in between. No, after it was Faithless, Beck, and then Radiohead.
Wow.
That was cool. That was really cool. Yeah. I wasn't really a big Beck fan, but he was actually really good. But like Faithless just set it up, and everyone was in great because of Faithless, and then Radiohead just smashed it. But that was much later, so I'm very jealous you got to see Big Computer Talks. I could have only been about 12, 13 when it came out. So
yeah, I think that was their heyday really. And R.E.M. I was really into R.E.M. in the sort of late 80s. Around sort of Life's Rich Pageant album, Document album, Green. I think they're the three albums for me, and I saw them a few times.
Really know Automatic for the People that well.
Yeah,
that's the only one I really. That's the only one I really knew.
What was that? 92. That Automatic for the People, I think.
My friend's mum had it, and she used to listen to it all the time. That's why I know it. I wasn't a really massive R.E.M. fan, but I listened to the album. It was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, Man on the Moon is just, one of my favourite songs off that album.
It's a great tune.
Drive's
a great tune. Yeah, Drive's a really good tune.
Yeah.
So do you so the music you write, your own music, original music, what would you say is like what inspires you to do that? Is there any bands that you kind of feel an influence on that kind of music, or
I don't know really. I think it's the stuff I've sort of released in recent years. Is the culmination of
plug away, by the way.
Please plug your album.
Do whatever you need to do
on Spotify.
Sorry, what was that?
Faded Arcades is the album. So
right, yes,
that was a bit of a milestone for me because I've been in probably 5 or 6 bands over the years, but never did loads of demo cassettes back in the day, demo cassettes, and I'm a bit jealous of kids in bands nowadays because they've got the whole, they've got YouTube, they've got Facebook to get it out there. We used to advertise gigs by going around town with a bucket of wallpaper paste,
nice.
copied posters in the dead of night, boarded up shops or subway walls. That was us. That was our advert.
That was proper us. That's how they all did it, wasn't it?
I think it's fair to say though that like, whilst it is good that there is the ease of YouTube, Spotify, whatever you use to get your music out there, the difficulty with that is that because it's so easy, it just massively increases the number of people out there doing it. Whereas before, it was those who had the balls to go out with paste and paste shit on walls.
True.
So there is that kind of like I kind of yearn for those. I never did paste, but we used to sit in my mate's mum's bedroom and use her printer when she was at work, using her ink up, and then used to go and I kind of yearn for those days where it's more DIY and a bit more fun. And now you kind of like got to deal with algorithms and tagging and Facebook and social media, and it's a ball ache. As before, it was like kind of magical, and like I'm going out. I would love to be going like pasting shit on walls. That sounds amazing.
I think what I miss most is kind of like, where's the next proper rock and rollers, or rock and roll band. Where's the next frontman that just doesn't give a shit and just does what the fuck he wants, and most of the bands just seem like need to do it properly. Even if they're a good band, they're not kind of what's the
lost
word?
the edge a little bit.
They're not. There's no controversy anymore, which I kind of miss that a little bit.
There's no one doing like there's not many bands doing political stuff. There's a lot of.
I mean, I grew up. I was a bit young for punk, but it was like garage bands, literally just railing against the establishment, really, by writing those sort of
I love that
angry songs, and it was great. And
a lot of our songs are kind of anti-establishment, anti a
the
lot
rest
of
of
stuff, to be honest.
So what do you on your album? Is that on Spotify and stuff? Yeah.
What was it called again?
Faded Arcades.
Faded Arcades. So on Faded Arcades, what's the kind of style of that? What do you say?
A lot of the songs on there, stuff that I've been kicking around for years. Literally, some of them probably go back 20 years, maybe. That I've never really got round to recording. A couple of them are songs that I played in with previous bands.
Oh shit! Sorry.
Where'd you go?
Oh, so we can edit that because I've got my phone going as well.
Oh, I keep talking. It's fine. I don't care.
Yeah. So, a lot of the songs have been sort of waiting in the wings for years.
Yeah.
And never really. It's either they didn't suit the band I was in at the time, or so I've had all these songs that really have been waiting to be aired and released.
How did you record them?
So I did them at Chris Miley's studio in Snaith.
Oh, Chris Miley, yeah. We've been to a couple of his open mics in Snaith. They were really good.
Yeah, and he's literally got a studio that he built on the back of his house.
Yeah.
Because I know Wardy's been with Black Dogs. Shout out to Black Dogs.
Yeah, and it's a great little setup he's got there. And I heard the first Sandra's Wedding album.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked the production on it. I thought it was a great result.
Nice. Shout out to Sandra's Wedding. We'll have to get you on centre stage.
Yeah, and I was really impressed with that album, so I thought, I'll give it a go. It was something, like I said, I'd always wanted to do. And so I think it took about a year to do it, on and off in between work and life and stuff. It was just me, so I was just doing it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So is it just sort of like you and with a guitar, or is it just like a bit more production wise?
There's so I had some guest musicians on there, guys that I'd worked with before over the years. So there's there's drums and bass. Chris is a bass player, so Chris did the bass.
Yeah.
And June Robinson did the drums. Guys who I'd known, a guy from Hull called Jeff Parsons, who I've been in bands with before, was a fantastic lead guitarist, so he did some some great lead guitar on there. We even got we've got a cello on there as well. Stuff that I've never really had a chance to do with.
Yeah.
Because I've always been in this standard sort of 4-piece rock bands and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I did a little bit more experimentation.
Don't you find when you've recorded like the basics of the song, then you start to hear other stuff, absolutely, and then you go, that's what we're like. We'll be in the studio, we'll record something down, and we'll be listening back to it, and it's just like, go back, and then we'll just lay down this little overdub, and it's and it works really, really well.
It does, and you know, bands I've been in the past, we've always kind of, you know, saved up a few quid, gone to a half decent studio, but we've always been on the clock. You know, you've got the weekend to record it. We work through the week, so we're booked into this studio for the weekend, and you kind of, well, whatever you end up with on Sunday night, you know, we can't afford to do anything else. So you kind of, we may do a little bit back in the day. So you know, I've got all the recordings that I've ever done somewhere on CD or demo cassette, but I've never been. There's maybe a couple of songs that I thought, you know what, that was really good, but there's most of them I'm like, oh, that's not quite right. I'm not happy with that, and I think most musicians probably, whatever they record, there's a little bit of that. Yeah. You're never completely satisfied. Well, that could have maybe been better, but you know, that was a theme really. So I quite enjoyed doing a solo album because it was just me. I wasn't on the clock. I'd saved a few quid up to do it, so I could.
And you were in control of
exactly,
everything.
And because you know, in bands you've always got egos and you've got different
tell me about
different
it,
opinions, and you've got I don't like
not now though.
Not now.
Of course.
No, we again we'll go back to like the disagreeing thing. We disagree well, but because we're kind of like very similar, it's similar musically minded. Yes. I would say the majority of the ideas and concepts that we come up with, we both like.
Yes.
I think also our big thing about centre stage and what we're trying to do at the moment with the scene in the local area is to really try and strip back that ego shit and just be like, it's not about you being the best, or it's about everyone helping each other out to have a platform to do stuff. And ego's getting away way too much in music, you know.
They do, and I probably saw more of that in my younger days, where you know, you'd turn up at venues and you'd be on a bill with 3 or 4 other bands, all, you know, early 20s, all thought
Macho,
they were going to be the next,
next
going to be the next, you know, Liam Gallagher.
That bit of
not your day, but sorry.
He just keeps sticking the knife.
I do, One thing you'll learn about me is
I'm used to it, mate. Don't worry about that.
Like a wasp. Just keep going. Sorry.
But yeah, and I think, you know, as you get more mature and the gigs I do nowadays, there are more well-established musicians that seem to be on the same bill, and there is that mutual respect, and you help each other, and you which is great.
I think that's what it's got to be about. I think if we're going to get anywhere, we're trying to get like a good original music scene in the area. It's got to be cooperative. You know, we've got to work together to do it. If one person's like, it's all about me, then it all becomes all about them, and it's not about creating a scene. It's about them succeeding in that area, rather than, I want everyone to be able to have somewhere to go and play music, their own music, and not be like, oh, there's going to be someone in the pub shouting, do Wonderwall, you know, that crap, you know. But we want to try and like foster that atmosphere of everyone supporting everyone else, you know. That's what we really want to try. And I think the last couple of set stages have been great for that, where, you know, everyone's there supporting each other, all the people who are on the bill chatting afterwards.
Yeah, so people have come. So obviously, the idea is, obviously, if you can, bring a few people with you.
Yeah.
And what we've found is everybody's sticking around forever and watching everybody else.
Nice.
So the people that have come to watch, sort of like support a particular artist, they're exactly. They're hanging around, and obviously the artists are sort of like hanging around as well, and that's what we're trying to sort of create. Again, it's kind of like, and it gets rid of sort of like the ego side of things, where people turn up and then bugger off as soon as they've played.
Trying to get rid of that envy thing as well, that people seem obsessed with, like being envious, like they don't want to watch someone in case that person like gets a better reception than them, or in case that person like might perform better than them or whatever. And I can't be dealing with that, because I'm like, look, that makes no sense. Like, you have to, like, if it was you and you were up there and you just walked away, you'd be really pissed off. So why would you do it the other way around? Don't be envious. Be like, this is awesome, because if that person's smashing it, and everyone's like, wow, original music's great, they're going to want to come and see you as well. You know? Like, we're not doing it, it's not like completely, altruistic. Obviously, it's good for us to be helping along and stuff. So we're not like we're aware of that, but at the same time, we don't want to be playing the music there because it's about the people who are playing, not us. Yeah. We want to be in the background as much as possible. We say that doing podcasts where we talk for.
Well, yeah. But it's all about giving.
We'll just carry on chatting.
It's about giving the artists a platform. So obviously when people watch these podcasts, you know, they get a little bit more info, not just a poster saying these are playing at number 1 The Crescent on centre stage. It's just like, who's this? Who are these playing? And then they can, if they want to watch the podcast or they just want to watch the highlights, they get like a little bit. Yeah, they get to know you a little bit more because the majority of people just kind of like know us anyway.
No,
you know?
I think it's great because I'm ashamed to say I've not been to any yet, but I've watched all the podcasts you've done, and a couple of people have blown me away. Like I was listening to Dion today, and I was like,
got a cracking voice.
Oh wow! Straight away you're like, wow, she is like.
What's really interesting as well is that everyone's kind of like enjoy different people. Yeah. Which is like no one's come up to me and been like, oh, that one person was great, and then the rest were rubbish or anything like that. But everyone's been like, oh, this person was amazing, and then someone else has been like, oh, I love that person. I'm like, that's amazing. That's what we want. Good, We want people to enjoy different styles.
So we've got this one on the 2nd of September. There's quite an eclectic style. There's obviously yourself. And then we've got Molly Curtis. Do you know Molly Curtis? Yeah, so she's coming to do the podcast after you.
Great.
Yeah. And then we've got a chap called Harrison Rimmer. Have you heard of Harrison Rimmer?
I think Harrison's played the Tom Pudding in Ghoul. I think
he might have done. He's a bit more. He's a bit more sort of like rocky, a bit more of a gruffy sort of like voice.
Rock and roll type.
And then we've got a lady called Stella Anderson. Of the Stella Anderson Project. Shout out to the Stella Anderson Project.
Leeds band, I think.
She's from Leeds, but on the piano.
Oh, nice.
It's gonna be good.
So that's we've not had anything like that yet. Great. So again, there's like 4 completely different artists, and again, that's another thing. What we try and do, we try not to have 2 artists that are very similar styles at the same time. So we are trying to, sort of like build up some kind of music scene, sort of locally, like more through the original music concept rather than sort of like open mics and covers. So in terms of that, do you have any ideas of how we might be able to achieve that? Any ideas of anything we could do differently, or?
I think what you're doing is great. It's and hats off to you guys for doing what you're doing and promoting it. Because we need people like you, who sort of push the sort of original music scene. I think social media. I think going back to my point before, I wish I'd had it back in the day, just because it is great for plugging music.
Oh sure,
it's a very good, it's a very healthy tool for that.
Absolutely, and for events like this and what you're doing around podcasts, I think it's almost you've just got to create that buzzer,
bit of momentum,
bit of momentum. And I think the more you do it, and people will start talking, and and hopefully you'll create that little snowball.
Well, that's the good thing about having the amount of people. Some people, I won't actually mention who they are, but some people have. Told us, you should only do a couple of people, or just start with 2 and go 3. But like for us, the more people we can get at each one, and the more we can make it a good night, the more people are going to spread it around. Like if we get 4 people each time, and they're like, I had a really good time at the podcast, or I had a really good time doing a set stage, they'll tell their mates, and then hopefully they'll get in touch with us. And so for us, the more the merrier. The more we can, the more we can pull off. Because like, hopefully you'll go and tell your friend, and they'll get in touch with me. Like, I can do that.
Absolutely.
And if you know anyone, please, put us in touch with them. We'd love to speak to them.
There's a couple of guys. Sandra's Wedding, great band.
We'd love to.
Do you know Joe Harkin from?
We know Joe.
Jockey. He's fantastic.
We've seen him. Have we seen him?
Yeah, I think we've seen him. Yeah.
I've definitely seen him a couple of times, and. Yeah, he did a live stream as well. I think you did. Did you do one of the live streams on the Lockdown Live Lounge?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Because that was I'd sort of like I'd got that going with Nick Ward.
Yes.
And then I ended up sort of like just kind of looking after it constantly. But it's and then obviously it fizzled out because I had to go back to work and everything. But that group page It's got something like just short of 4,000 members.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So, and the thing is, I moderate it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I get all sorts of people trying to put selling posts on. Just recently, I've had people trying to put religious stuff on there, and I'm just like,
piss
decline,
off,
decline. That's all I have to do.
Stop.
Just decline,
Yeah,
decline. It's nothing to do with music. I am
Stop.
sticking to music. So if you've got anything that you know that you want to sort of like advertise, any Spotify link, well, obviously what we're going to do is, once we do the podcast and everything, we'll do the we'll start putting them out. We'll put all your relevant links.
Yeah.
Spotify links.
Yeah.
You've got a Facebook page, haven't you, Simon Raywood Music?
Yeah, I have. I've got a
Go visit it.
website as well.
Website, yeah.
SimonRaywood.com, I think.
Oh, SimonRaywood.com. You think?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Something like that, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Google it, you'll find
You
it.
should really.
You should definitely
I
know.
was thinking, is it simon.raywood.com or is it just, I think it's Simon Raywood.
We'll find out. We'll put it on
Yeah,
the bio.
usually something Simon.Raywood. That's an email address.
Yeah.
That's right. We'll suss out before we do your bio.
Yeah,
anyway.
we'll put some
We'll put a link to the
sort of
podcast.
like bits and pieces across the bottom of the screen,
Great.
you know, if we can.
Cool.
But
So,
if not, on Facebook posts. And
So
stuff.
just basically keep doing what we're doing then. I can deal with that.
Yeah, I think so, guys. It's working, you know.
Well, awesome. I'm glad
It's-
you're.
it's building up, yeah.
I'm glad, like, you know, and people are starting to, you know, watch it and it's popping up in people's feeds and stuff. So,
Yeah.
and again, hopefully, the more we can do this kind of thing and at a certain stage, it will help promote you guys, and you guys will get a benefit from it. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
I've
a whole
already
point. That's
thought about
another big point.
putting a link to this on my website page. You know what I mean?
That's
So
it,
it's
yeah,
things
yeah.
like that.
Exactly,
It'll
exactly.
Yeah,
get it
so
out
hopefully
there.
it's kind of
Yeah.
just going to do this and that.
Yeah.
I mean, people came to the last centre stage off the back of the first one,
And it was bang.
and not from who was playing.
No.
They just went, that was a great night. I'm coming to the next one.
Regardless of who's playing.
Even
That's
though
that's
I
what you
missed
want,
it.
innit?
we had the best night that, like, money wise, that bar's ever had. So
Fantastic.
and that's-
And that helps.
We have to do, like,
You've got-
we understand. Obviously, we want to be, you know, music. But at the end of the day, for doing it in a bar, it's a business. So you,
Yeah,
at the end of
you've
the
gotta
day,
make money.
you have to make money for the business you're in. You have to. That's
Yeah.
it's part of the deal. You kind of
Business 101,
If there's
really.
one man and
You
a
have
Jack
to.
Russell sat there, they're not going
Yeah,
to.
exactly.
Yeah.
Not gonna,
So and we've all done gigs like that, and I'm sure we'll do gigs like that again, and it sucks, but you know,
Yeah.
it is what it is. But
yeah.
if we can make those nights a success and keep it busy, it'd be great for everyone, and it gives everyone a really good, I remember Dion said in the last podcast, you know, he's doing originals to like 2-3 people, so she was just so buzzed to have like a really supportive, big crowd to sing to, doing
Yeah.
original music rather than
Yeah.
you feel like you need to do covers because there's only a few people there, and
Yeah.
like, you know, having people actually there to watch you do originals
Yeah.
and stuff. So have you got any, like, speaking of like big gigs, have you got any particularly notable gigs or
Normal gigs.
notable gigs, like anything special that
I think,
sticks to
you know,
mind for you?
There's a few. I guess you know. There's a few for each band that I've been in.
Yeah.
You know,
That's all right,
I'm
go for it.
not going to be here all night, but
That's all right.
when I was in a band called Emerald Rain. That was the first sort of proper
Emerald
Rain.
Rain.
The Emerald Rain, and that would be late '80s, and we got quite a bit of label interest actually. So
nice.
we got. I mean, it was CBS back then. It's Sony now, but it was used to be CBS.
very
Columbia
nice.
came to see us, and EMI came to see us, and
great.
Chrysalis came
Okay.
to see us, and we got an agent, and he's actually the booking agent for Radiohead now. A guy called
Oh, wow.
Charlie Myatt.
Oh, yeah, I've
He
heard
was
something
in,
like that.
and he was our agent, and he got us
Oh,
quite
wow.
a few gigs down in London. So we played like Dingwalls, and there was
Oh, amazing.
a venue called the Powerhouse in Islington that we used to play all the time. You know, we got quite a few. Got some real good support slots. Then there was one gig. I don't know. Can you remember the Duchess of York on Vicar Lane?
Yes.
Fantastic.
It's not there anymore. When did
No.
that shut down? Like 90s sometime,
did,
didn't
yeah.
it? I remember that
It
venue.
did.
Brilliant
Yeah,
venue.
it was ace. It was just
It's down that one-way street as well,
That's
wasn't
right,
it? And
yeah.
you always used to
Yeah.
end up like, shit, wrong way. Then you have to
Yeah.
go all the way
All
fucking round
around,
again.
That's right. Yeah, Vicar Lane. But I mean, some great bands have played there, and we ended up playing a couple of gigs there. But we did one with a band called the Weather Prophets, who were quite a big sort of indie band in the late '80s, and that was, I mean, it was rammed, you know. And we played really well.
Nice.
Excellent.
You know, and that gig sticks in my mind. We played I was in a band, and we played a gig in Iceland, in Reykjavik.
Oh, amazing.
A venue called the Gauker Aston. It's quite a lot of the touring bands who go to Iceland play there.
Okay.
You know, it's a bit like Lead Mill type venue, you know, in Sheffield. If you've been to the Leadman in Sheffield, it's that sort of. But and it was great. It was a real good gig, and actually, because we were from the UK. We were on the local radio station. They sent a car for us, and you know, you felt there was that glimpse of you know, and then you know, the gig was a real good night. It was full, and we did a great set.
That's proper exciting.
I think solo wise, I don't know. It's difficult really. I don't play enough really solo. As you know, I'm in Soul Revolver, the sort of
Soul Revolver.
My younger self would probably look at me in disdain because I was always dead against covers bands when I was younger. I was quite lucky, and when I sort of first got into bands, all the local bands all did original stuff. It was frowned upon to do covers back then, you know. So that encouraged my songwriting, you know, because I can't play covers.
Can be covers, got to be something else. Yeah. That's
great.
Well, we did that. When we did that gig at the what was the place in Gould? The Charter Club.
Charter Club, yeah.
Were you a man down that day?
We were, yeah. So we were, yeah.
But you still nailed it though. It was still a
great
great night.
It was under pressure a bit, but we sort of fumbled our way.
No, it's great. Loud.
Yeah.
We're being really loud.
Yeah, it was a good night.
Because I think we were meant to go on after you guys, and then because there's going to be Big Phil's opening up.
Yeah,
there was going to be you guys,
and then us,
and we were sound checking you, and then we were like, I was like, we can't go on after these guys.
No, it's
there's no way we're going to make anywhere near that noise.
Then you guys, and then the other guys.
It's drums, yeah. As soon as you had the drums, yeah.
Drums and bass.
It was a good night though. Eddie did a good job there. Shout out to Eddie. That was a really good. It was a fun gig.
Yeah, it was good.
It was a fun gig. I remember your. I remember like I was out on a blow on my e-cig, and I think you guys were out there. You and your lead singer and your drummer was there. I think he was trying to phone the dude who dropped out or whatever.
Yeah.
And your drummer's a straight talker. Let's put it that way. I remember he's still like, don't phone him. He's like, I'm going to phone him. Don't phone him. And I'm going to phone him. I'm going to phone him. No, don't worry about it. It's so funny.
Yeah, we managed.
You did
show
a great
isn't it? The show must go on and on.
The show might need to crack it up. It was good. Yeah, it was great.
So you got any gigs coming up?
Only this one, really.
Just this one?
So just So I need to get a few more in the diary. I've got a few with this sort of covers back.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Well, this is again. Hopefully, the more we can do this kind of thing and set a stage, the more people will be like, oh well, if they can pack a house for original music, let's get more people doing it in. Absolutely. Like what you said about used to be frowned upon to do covers. The reverse seems to have happened somewhere along the line.
Absolutely.
Where it's like, do you do covers? I'm like, there were a couple. I mean, I didn't mind cover bands. I like cover bands.
Yeah.
Like, I think there should be a place for people doing original music as well.
Absolutely.
Well, if you're out there and you're watching, you're in a pub, come book Si.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah. I usually do a solo gig at the Tom Pudding.
Yeah,
a couple of times.
I like that place. It's lovely, really up close and personal, nice and
great
small,
crowd,
compact. Good sound, great crowd. Whoever's on, there's usually
they love us. They love me and Rich and Gould.
They love us over there. Yeah.
We love you too, guys. It's kind of like our favourite place to go because people. We've played the Tom Pudding twice now. And after the first time, the second time, majority of people in there came off the back of the first time.
Yeah, they came back.
Them guys playing. We'll go see them.
You remember? Yeah, they were really they're great. They was really excited when we were there, and
it's really nice people as well.
Yeah,
good.
We've had some great
shout
in there, and you can have 20 people in there, and it looks packed. As
well.
Good atmosphere.
Really good. And also, I think the interesting thing I found about that place was that like they seem like the sort that wouldn't like original music if you would, been just look at them stereotyping, but they buzzed off it. They were like, it's amazing. I was like, the first time we played, I was a little bit concerned. I was like, I don't know if they're gonna dig our original stuff. They were loving it. They absolutely adored it. They were really like a crowd. So we do have a question we've asking everyone, which is if you were stranded on a desert island and you could pick one musician to spend your time with on desert island. It could be anyone you like.
Right. Dead or alive.
Right, okay.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Why not?
Who would it be and why?
It's like a blind date question, isn't it?
Yeah. Am I stranded on there forever? Or is it...
Yeah, for you're not getting off.
Right.
Well, you
have to be a female now.
Just in case.
It'd probably be either Kate Bush...
Oh, great choice.
Or Liz Fraser from the Cocteau Twins.
Don't know who that is.
Do you know Liz Fraser?
I do.
She's got the most beautiful voice.
I'm going to make a note of that.
Honestly, the most
I
unique,
like the Kate Bush.
beautiful voice.
So you got to pick one. That you can't say both. You have to pick one.
I think it probably Liz Fraser just sings, whereas Kate obviously is more of a versatile musician. So I think we'll probably have more fun with Kate just because right.
I mean the way she sings and how she kind of like goes against the grain when it comes to, because when I write lyrics, I like the rhymes and stuff like that. Where she just there was an album she did and she was imitating a bird tweeting. Yeah. I think it was the last one of the last albums she did. Ariel or Sea of... Was it Ariel? Was that the name of the album? It was
Ariel,
like a double album.
That's right, it was Ariel, yeah. With a bit of a
and there was one section on there where she's trying to imitate this bird, tweeting. Yeah. And just the way she gets her words in. Now if you need to listen to the words, it's just like not one bit of them rhyme. There's no rhymes or anything. She's literally just written a load of stuff down on a bit of paper, what she's seen or whatever. And she's singing it in all these different melodies. Yeah. She's just she's unbelievable. She's mad as a fucking brush, but she's totally bonkers.
Most of the brilliant musicians are, aren't they?
Yeah, I think you've got to be like I think artists in general, right?
Genius and madness, isn't it?
They seem to go hand in hand.
So close.
They seem to go hand in hand. It seems to be that way. Also, people who have tough times in childhood seem to always artistically excel. Somehow, it's interesting that I guess it's some sort of escapism from what you're going through, maybe, and
adversity in it.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah.
Awesome, great. So Kate Bush, we'll land on
good
that.
Choice, that. Good choice, Kate Bush, mate. Yeah.
Hands are all great. It's great how it's re-emerged, isn't it, on the back of Strange.
Well, we did that.
We do a cover of Running Up That Hill.
I've heard it. It's fantastic. I've heard it.
We did it years ago. And actually, I watched Stranger Things, and when it came out, and I heard it, I was like, I don't think we're going to be able to get away with playing this for forever, because I knew it was going to get popular again, because actually Stranger Things is massive. And I heard it was number one or whatever, and I was like, every time we play it, people are going to be like, you're just doing it because it's
But the way we do kind of like a bit of a different version. I've got some really weird sort of tuning.
I've heard it. It's great.
And I will always play that, and it goes down really well.
She's awesome, so yeah.
She is. I had the great opportunity of seeing her at Hammersmith Apollo back in 2014, I think it was, with my wife. I think it was when my wife was, she was in between jobs, so she was living off some redundancy for a couple of years, and so she was literally, the morning tickets went on sale, she'd bang, straight on, Saturday night tickets, because she did 28 days in a row, something like that.
One venue, didn't she?
One venue, and that was the first tour she'd done since the late 70s.
And wasn't her son involved in it as well or something? She's got a son Bertie, and he was.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing was just the sound was just immaculate. It was. Yeah. It was obviously she'd planned it for a long time, and she'd been rehearsing the whole thing because it was all about that new album, and obviously loads of other classics and everything like that, and it was just unbelievable. I mean, my wife was literally crying because she'd always wanted to go see it, but she never toured, did she? No. She just released that. She did a tour back in late 70s, or I think it was late 70s, and then she didn't. She's never toured since. No. And then she did that one, so no wonder tickets sold out in literally no time.
Taking it full circle, my introduction to Kate Bush was listening to Wuthering Heights, Mama the LP of Wuthering Heights. I saw bars of that tune. The way she sang it and everything,
Beautiful.
Right, we've been going an hour, Si, so where can we find you?
Oh, we've been.
I've got
just check, make sure Molly's not waiting outside.
The website, simonraywood.com.
Simonraywood.com.
The Facebook, Simon Raywood Music.
Simon Raywood Music.
That's it. I think the album's on Spotify, Faded Arcades on Spotify, available to download. Yeah.
Alright, get it. Check it out, guys. Brilliant. Si, thank you very much for coming on.
Yes,
cheers,
guys.
What song are you going to do for us?
I'm going to do a song called Every Other Day.
Amazing. Si, thank you very much for coming on, and we'll
see you soon. We'll see you on the 2nd of September.
Look forward to it.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.